The Georgia Bulldogs suffered their first loss of the season on Saturday night at home, but the season rolls on and the Kentucky Wildcats are headed between the hedges this Saturday. Kirby Smart met with the media to talk about that game. Let's get into it.
All right, guys. It's on to Kentucky for us. Our guys are fired up, got work done yesterday, and a bunch of them came in. And I think when you see our guys, you realize how invested they are when they hurt. It's good when guys hurt because you hurt relative to how invested you are in something. So I know our guys will have good energy today for a really, it's always the most physical game when we play these guys. I think because philosophically they believe in running the ball, we believe in running the ball. Those two things hit head-to-head when we play them. We've had head-to-head battles many times with these guys, and Coach Stoops' teams are always physical, so we know it'll be physical, and it'll also be a very different time start for our group and really for them too, because we both played late games last week. So looking forward to getting ready for these guys.
So quick vibe check from the coach about the team right there. Says they're hurting. That's good. It drives them. I mean, that's what you want to hear, right? That it matters. And as far as Kentucky's concerned, we all understand that they are going through some struggles up there on the bluegrass right now, but that doesn't change the fact that the philosophies are what they are, and you don't end up at a place like Kentucky unless you buy into that philosophy. So I fully expect this week to be every bit as physical as every previous matchup against Kentucky has been, and that is very.
Yeah, Kirby, going back to Saturday, the fourth down play with Cash, was there any discussion on the headset about asking for a review for the play before it looked like Gunner got close to the line of the game?
Yeah, the only decision on that is they buzz down. They control that, and every team in the conference so far that's had tempo plays, they've had plays buzz down when they want to review it. You know, they look at it fast and quick. It happened in a South Carolina game. It happened in our game that night. It happened earlier where they buzzed down. We were trying to go tempo and would have scored, but there's no thought of trying to wait on somebody to do that. Not when we feel like that's the most important play that we have in terms of execution.
Yeah.
So there you go, Kirby. That was a different angle on the take because from where I was standing on the field, I couldn't see how close Gunner actually was. So it's good that he pointed it out. And he's exactly right. Earlier in the game, the crowd booed loudly when they buzzed down to stop Georgia on the goal line prior to the Josh McCray touchdown. So they can do it if they choose to do it. Apparently they didn't feel the need to. And he doubled down right there on the end saying we felt really good about that play. They simply didn't execute it.
Talon and Ellis had some tough plays on Saturday night in their first real big home games. For young players as a coach, how do you go about, not letting them think that those mistakes are the end of the world and getting them to keep growing and keep getting better, even in a big game like that?
Yeah, you show confidence in them. You love on them. You discipline them. You grow them. You try to get them better. Both those guys are talented players. Ellis had some really good plays in the game as well. So Talon's deal was tough, but Talon will grow from it. He's a tough, competitive kid. He practices his butt off. People don't give him enough credit for he's changed our punt team in terms of he's replaced an Arian and a Dom as a gunner and been really elite. And he's every time we've called his number, he's answered it, and he's going to continue to do that. I mean, the guy's a worker. I told him that look, we're going to come back at you and continue to use you and just keep getting better. That's all you can do. Keep getting better. Block out the outside noise. I mean, I don't even know what's being said out there because I've literally just shut it off. But both those kids are talented kids who are going to be good football players here.
And that's easy for a coach to do because at the bare bones truth of it, that's exactly right. You have to not care what I or anyone else has to say about what happened on Saturday, because the truth of the matter is the only thing you can do is work to get better, or you could quit, I guess, but that's not going to happen. So you work to get better. The one thing I would say about that reception is Talon had the guys beat. The ball was right where it was supposed to be. The thing that I didn't understand is why jump? You don't have to jump. You make the catch like degrees more difficult when you jump. Just run through the football, trust your hands, make the play. Now, that's just a minute observation, but for a young player, maybe that's something he really has to drill down on and work through. I don't know. Just an observation on my part. But coach is right. You have to support your guys. You signed them for a reason. You promised you would be there for them to help them. And tough times are when that sort of coaching, that sort of tough love, whatever you want to call it, that's when it comes through, is when things don't go your way. And I'll say it again, just get ready. That is the new college football that we live in. Again, if you think that losing 2 games or 3 games in a season is the end of the world, then you are going to despise college football moving forward, especially if you're a Georgia Bulldogs fan. Is that the goal? No. But is that the reality for most teams in most seasons? Absolutely. You just can't get it, you can't get around it. The games are going to be too difficult. The slog is going to be too hard. Injuries are going to happen. So just settle in, enjoy the ride, try to win the next one.
Yeah, you mentioned guys being hurt in the wake of the loss. Just what has the response been over the past couple of days, and is it different with a team that you've said a lot is pretty young versus a team like last year that had so many veterans on it?
No, hurting is hurting. It doesn't matter what age you are. You know, the more invested you are, the more you hurt. My question is, what are you going to double down on? You know, it's a different day and age of college football. Like, it's completely different out there. It's we've accepted it as coaches. We have to do a good job of the players responding to it. And, you know, what do you double down on? I know more about my team right now than I did a week ago. I can guarantee you that. And that's what fires me up. And I got a lot of optimism after that game because I learned a hell of a lot more about my team than I had the previous weeks.
You got to love that. Like, if you know the game, if you've been around the sport, then that is the kind of thing you have to love. Again, these players are not signed to come to the University of Georgia because they know somebody or they're someone's child or they're a legacy or something like that. These guys are signed because they are quality football players. They are, in fact, young. You cannot deny it. The roster as a whole is young. More than 70% of it is in year 1 or 2 on campus at the University of Georgia. The years that they would have been preparing to be top line guys in the past are now the years that they are having to learn on the field. They're having to cut their teeth in real time, and mistakes will happen. And if you think Georgia is alone in that, then you are just simply not looking around the rest of college football, because every team has issues. Alabama, major issues running or stopping the run, right? They played great. Give them credit. Georgia didn't play great and still could have won the game. So the sky's not falling. Everyone has to be held accountable. But the fact that they bought in to what the coaches are teaching and they believe in the mission, well, like I said earlier, now all you have to do is improve, because the team that improves the most from here to the end of the season is the team that's going to win the most games. It's just that simple.
Kirby talked about managing the players. One thing, what about the staff after a game like that? Looking at your post game, you mentioned how the coaches have to do a better job with the first quarters that you've had in the 2 SEC contests. What was Sunday like? I know there's Sunday review, but is there a different tone or is there an approach you take with your staff?
No, our staff's been great. I think we've put together some really good game plans. I don't know that we've executed them all the time well, and there's a line between execution responsibility, me, coaches, players, everybody's involved in that. But, I mean, the same calls that we called in the first half, we called in the second half, and we got some stops, and we made some plays. And it's not about just calls. It's about execution, putting people in good position. And, you know, sometimes it's playing with confidence, and we got to do a better job doing that.
Yeah, and that, again, points to the youth of it all, but he's not lying to you. There's only so many plays that you put into a game plan each week, and then you are supposed to go out there and execute them. And young players don't always do that. Hell, veteran players don't always do that. But when you do it and it works, you look like a genius. When it doesn't work, well, then you look like Georgia looked in the first half. So that is the game of football. It's not beautiful. You just have to fight for 60 minutes and hope that you get enough done to win the game. And again, Georgia had an opportunity late in the game to get it done, and it was a lack of execution, both with the drop ball, both with the missed block and then the silly penalties that wind up costing you the game. That's a lack of discipline, which points back to youth when you know everything else about what's happening around the program. So you just have to put your head down and move forward.
Kirby, with DEMELLO Jones, how did he, how do you evaluate how he did when you watched film? And with Daniel Harris, what's it going to take for him to get back in the rotation, you think?
It's not any different for any position, right? Like the guys that practice and play the best play. That's the system we've installed here, and that's not going to change. That's true at right tackle, left tackle, receiver, D tackle, linebacker. Best guys are going to play, and the guys that practice best get to play.
That's interesting because I think it speaks to a couple of different things. One, the fact that Daniel Harris had locked down a starting job early in the year, or at least was the first guy they ran out there. And now he has been beaten out by these younger players, which I thought might happen. Ellis Robinson, DEMELLO Jones, those guys. I thought they might eventually take over. But that's in no way a slight against Daniel Harris. He is a good football player as well. But the best guy is going to play. Kirby has said it always, and it is always the way it goes. So I'm not sure why people are still surprised that somebody starts over somebody else. What the other thing I think it speaks to, though, is the fact that Daniel Harris is an upperclassman. He's an older guy. And the fact that he's inconsistent in his practice efforts or his game efforts, for that matter, when he was on the field, to the point where the young guys can overtake him, says something about both those young guys as well as the overall competition in that defensive back room. So, but the baseline is the best guy plays. That's the way it always is. No, your narrative, my narrative doesn't matter. Whoever performs the best and puts hundreds of reps on tape at practice is the one who's going to play.
He did some good things. He, as the game went on, he got his hands on people, was able to play, had some contested, I won't call them contested catches, some contested breakups that were big in terms of gaining confidence and strength. He tackled a couple times well and showed up on crack places, and they had a couple gimmicks where they tried to trick him, and he saw it. So he did some good things, but he can improve a lot. We think he's a good player. He's going to give us some skill set that maybe we can use some other places on our defense, and hope he continues to work really hard and grow.
Now, I believe he's talking about DEMELLO there, the second half of that question, right? Like, what did you see on tape? So that's good to hear, too, because the thing about DEMELLO is he has really good ball skills, and he is dynamic when the ball is in his hands. So if he does ever get an interception or something like that, then he's a chance to do some real damage for Georgia. The fact that he could potentially play some other positions for Georgia is also really good news, because you want to have those guys cross-trained up, whether it means that a matchup works better if you move them down to star or potentially back to safety. I don't know what they got in mind, but the fact that he can move around like that just simply gives you more options. And the more guys that you have on the field that can run and cover people in today's college football, the better off you're going to be for it.
Kirby, what needs to happen for the pass rush to get better, and how much of it was pass rush in the other game, and how much was just Simpson getting the ball out quickly on a lot of plays?
Yeah, it was a great balance. I mean, that's the part of the game that you look back on and I go, you know what? We executed at a high level. Like, we did not have a lack of execution on third down. We had one where we checked and they checked and we checked and they checked, and we didn't quite get lined up right. But it was a front issue, not a coverage issue. And when you play in the home environment, you go back and say, okay, is there a lack of execution? No, there wasn't a lack of execution. There was really good execution in a high-level quarterback play. Give him a lot of credit. Shake his hand and say he did a great job. The ball came out before some of our rush got there. One time we didn't have our rush lanes right. Quarterback took off the first third down of the game. You know, it's like you can't let them do that. You got to execute better in those situations. But some of it was really good quarterback play, really good timing, and give them credit, shake their hand, and go get better for the next one. So we got to find ways to affect the quarterback. But we had some in there that we executed, and they out-executed.
And that's the cold hard truth of it all. And you've heard me say it a lot of times in my videos. Sometimes the other guy just wins. That's it. And so Ty Simpson, without a doubt, deserves plenty. I think he won SEC Player of the Week honors this week offensively. He deserves it. I mean, the guy was fired up, locked in, sharp, on time, all those things. And it showed up on the field. When he wasn't quite as sharp in the second half, Georgia was able to make some plays. And that's when Georgia was winning, right? So sometimes other people just win, and that's what happens. And, you know, it does on it does on some level make me feel better about the pass rush. Because when you're on ground, when you're on field like I am, I was on the Alabama sideline most of the night, you can't see all that you need to see. Like, you can see the guys that are closest to you. You can't see routes develop. You just can't see a lot of those things. I've only had an opportunity to go back and watch like part of the second quarter, maybe a little bit of the third quarter. I haven't even had a chance to watch the whole game yet. So it makes me feel good to know that Kirby is pointing out, listen, we executed right. And by that, he means, did we go where we were supposed to go when we were supposed to go there in the most efficient way possible? Did we finish when we had the opportunity? If he is saying that, yes, we did those things and Ty Simpson just beat us, then you just have to live with that to some extent. That is just like if Georgia has a guy along the interior defensive line who wins in, a half a second or a second on an immediate swim move and then makes a tackle for loss, well, then your guy just won. That's all. No scheme, no nothing. Your guy just wins. So it happens. So, yeah, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. Good things will happen eventually. It's just that when we talked all in the week leading up to this game about what kind of team it was, what kind of threat it was, what you had to do to impact the game, those things came to a head on Saturday night. And according to Kirby, and based off what I could see, it just sounds like that in the early part of the game, Ty Simpson and Alabama simply were executing at a level higher than what Georgia was executing. Therefore, they won those plays.
Over here, what's been the progression of Elo MEDOZIE since he's gotten here, and just how has he kind of fared in the last couple of weeks in practice?
He's getting better each and every week. He's a guy that, was not here for spring like our other guys, and he continues to grow and get better. His greatest attribute is his speed and his athleticism. We got to be able to use that more and give Q some rest and continue to develop him. I think he knows that, and we got to find ways to get his skill set out there on the field.
And that's a big thing right there is he has to, it comes back to coaching, the right personnel being in the game, that sort of thing. And the fact that Q, it's hard to take on 300-pound defense or offensive linemen and, for 2 or 3 seconds and then switch into pass rush mode. And if you've got a guy who has fresh legs and has a little burst off the edge and you can get a team into a clear passing situation, then you need to get him on the field and turn him loose and see what he can do.
Coach, I thought it was interesting that you brought up talking about how the players are feeling the hurt. How do you go about making sure they don't get too high on the highs and low on the lows, going from the Tennessee game to obviously this weekend?
It's called Kentucky. Right, like we got to go play a really good football team. So I'm not concerned about. I'm glad that they were affected and hurt. There's a lot of college football teams right now. They got teams that the kids don't care. Like when people hurt, you usually get a better response, right? You get a better mechanism of buy-in or doubling down on something of knowing who I am and knowing what I've got to work on. So that part excites me to get to work today.
Well, one thing's for sure, when you watch tape of an opponent, you can tell whether or not they're going to be an issue. It's just reality. And he's not trying to be a smart ass right there. He's just saying it's called Kentucky, meaning you turn on the tape and you see them. They're going to hit you in the face. They're going to try to run the football. They're going to move you if you allow that to happen. So you better show up and be prepared to play. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself embarrassed come Saturday.
Coach, what did you learn about your team? What were some of the things that stood out to you from that game?
We can run the ball and we can stop the run. Two things that we struggled with last year. So we've got to continue to improve in those areas. We got to lean on those areas, but we got a lot of areas we got to get better at.
I said going into the game that, clearly, and Kirby did too, that winning the line of scrimmage is something they had to do. You have to stop the run and you have to run the football. Georgia ran the football for 225 plus yards on Saturday night. And you are not supposed to lose when you do that. Georgia played the run game really well Saturday night. I saw Gabe Harris, think of the fourth down stop at midfield. Gabe Harris did an amazing job on the edge of blowing up the pulling guard, collapsing what they were trying to do, and then Q come around from the backside, makes the tackle for loss. Dogs get the ball. Then everything happened after that happened. But the point is, at the point of attack, when they had to have it, Alabama could not run the football. Georgia had to have a stop. They did what they wanted to do. So Gabe is doing things, and Q are doing things in the run game that's allowing them to be better against the run this year than they were last year. And they are working on the pass rush aspect of it all. So as much as even I have said we have to get a pass rush, we do. It is absolutely fundamental to playing good defense. But what I'm seeing with my own eyes, again, on the field, watching Gabe blow that dude up on fourth down, and then also hearing Kirby tell me what I haven't been able to see because I haven't had time to look at the tape yet. I feel better about the overall situation with what's going on there defensively. Again, young, growing, and have to learn. And a lot of people don't like to hear that. They call that truth of the universe an excuse. Okay, you go live in your world if that's how you feel about it. But that is the reality. So I'm excited to see those guys continue to improve. I trust that they will.
Kirby, a few self-inflicted wounds for the last week for Kentucky in the South Carolina game, but they ran the ball effectively when they held on to it. What have you seen out of Seth McGowan in terms of his ability to move the chains?
Physical. Their backs are physical. I mean, every time we play them, their offensive line, they have a defensive head coach, Coach Stoops, that believes in running the ball, and they have really good run schemes, and they have really big physical guys, and their backs match their O-line in terms of size, both backs.
That's important, essentially because of what I just said. These dudes are going to come at you and try to just beat you back in the run game. And that's why it's imperative that guys like Q Johnson and Gabe Harris on those edges are doing what they need to do to hold up, stop that flow, stop those big bodies, jam everything up, and bust the play. That's how you stop the run game. That's how Georgia wins on Saturday.
Coach, obviously the running back room seems to have a different star every week. Obviously, Nate had his fumble and didn't get back out there and get to carry the ball anymore. But what's kind of the expectation for him this week, and just what's the dynamic between him and Chauncey? Obviously, those guys came in together. So
yeah, they love each other, man. Nate was the fact that Nate was cheering and happy for Chauncey shows what kind of culture we built here. He was pumped for him, and he was crushed for himself. He's upset and knows that he's got things he's got to work on. He's got to continue to improve at. Nate's not afraid of hard work. He's not afraid to go out there and get to work and improve, and we're going to continue to do that. Look, you don't get through this gauntlet of SEC games without having multiple backs and having guys ready, and I feel good about that room.
Yep.
Well, that's something that's good to hear, just that the teammates are being good teammates and they're cheering for one another. That's awesome. And I don't doubt for a second that it's genuine, because what Kirby said is right. You're going to have different guys who break big on different weeks. And when that happens, it sort of spins the cube for you and you understand. So this is what it was like when it wasn't going well for me, or this is what it was like when it wasn't going well for that person. I understand now. And so you want to be there and lift them up because you know your opportunity is coming later and you want those guys to be there for you too. So yeah, there's a lot of talent in that running back room. And it's interesting. You never want to put the ball on the ground. And it's like I said after the game on Saturday, I thought it was probably Sunday when I actually said it. Listen, it's college football, but people are being paid. And when you're being paid, you have to produce. That's the bottom line. If you're not producing, you don't play. Simple. So if you make an error and another guy happens to have a hot hand, then that guy's going to get those carries. That is what it is. It doesn't mean that you're in the trash bin all of a sudden. It just means that right now we've got a guy with a hot hand and you had a little bit of a rough moment. So we're going to go with the other guy. So no hurt feelings. Everybody, I believe, understands it. And if they don't, they're learning. That is the reality of college football today.
Back in the spring, you talked about the importance of having continuity and consistency on your coaching staff in terms of all 10 on-field assistants coming back. And I'm wondering how important was that? How much of a factor was that, knowing that you were going to have a young team this year and leaning on those guys who had been in this coaching staff before to sort of help shepherd this team through?
I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that we got all the guys. I'm glad we have the continuity we have. I think it helps the offensive players and defensive players that returned, or maybe the ones that were here last year that didn't play, like a Q, guys that are playing a lot of reps that I call sophomores. I think that continuity really helps them. I think it helps new guys that transfer in terms of having a relationship with somebody. But we also made some really good additions. We've gotten great ideas and energy from guys that have been brought in, whether it's from the NFL ranks or college ranks. With Brumbaugh and some other guys. So I feel great about our staff.
I mean, that's an interesting point. And the questioner asked it in such a way that he was trying to give, well, I don't want to say what he was trying to do, but he could have been trying to give Kirby an opportunity to speak on his staff in a way to share whatever he views. You know, am I happy with it? Am I not happy with it? Are the things that have to be done? You know, he answered it in the way that I kind of would have expected him to, but he's right in that those guys have brought new ideas into the run game, and that was one of the things that was a priority for Georgia this season. Was, will we be able to run the ball better? And sometimes you need an influx of new ideas, and with the analysts and assistants that they brought in to help bring in scheme from the NFL and different ways of doing things, I think you can say that that's been successful so far for Georgia this season.
Yeah, Coach, I want to ask about Noah Thomas, just the progress you've seen him make and what you're seeing out of him in practice.
Noah's been great, man. Noah's another guy that is a culture winner for us. I mean, he competes so hard. He starts on the special teams. He rolls in and plays sometimes with Colby, but at the same position as Colby. And he hasn't gotten some of the breaks that Colby has in terms of when he's in the game, but he has a lot of the same similarities. We've had 2 or 3 shots that early in the year he would have hit. He was wide open, but we had protection breakdowns. It just hadn't happened, and he hasn't pressed because of it. All he does is, what do we need to do to get better, Coach? Tell me what we need to do to get better. What do I need to do to get better? And he continues to grow and buy into that. And when you have that kind of culture, it helps you win.
That's cool that they asked that question specifically, because in my comments and the discourse I see among dog fans, they're like, where is Noah Thomas? And it is never as simple as I'm going to put this guy and this guy and this guy on the field at the same time and throw them the ball every time. That's not how it goes, right? There are hundreds of things that determine what happens in any play. It's like Kirby said, the protection broke down early in the year, so we didn't get the ball to him. Or maybe Gunner just missed him on a read. Or maybe the situation was that the ball had to go somewhere else when he was in the game and he didn't have his opportunity. It will come for Noah Thomas. And I know that because of what Kirby just shared with us, that he's doing everything the right way. I saw him 5 feet from him on Saturday night, blocking his ass off, celebrating his teammates, doing all the things that he needed to do to get on the field. The time will come for Noah Thomas. We just don't know when that's going to be. As long as he keeps working hard, I am certain he will be ready when the ball comes his way.
Coach, KYRON Jones is quietly putting up big numbers, second leading tackler 2 weeks in a row. What are you seeing out of him on the film after the games?
Some good and some bad. Physicality has been good. That's why he's playing. He's thick. He thumps when he hits. You know, like he has knockback tackles, and he plays physical, which is really important in that position, because you're going to get caught in positions where you got to run and cover. And you're going to get caught where you got to go tackle jam or a big back like Seth, and you're like, ooh. But he's been able to do those. I need him to play with some more consistency in terms of eye control, and he knows that. He knows. I mean, that's right now why he's playing that other safety spot, is he's playing that physical and tackling well. And we need to keep growing him. I mean, we need to keep getting him better.
That's one of those guys that Georgia's having to lean on. I've pointed to the second safety position as a spot of personal concern. I don't want to say weakness on the team because KYRON's doing a good job, like Kirby said, in run support, doing things like that. But when his eyes are bad, it shows up on tape and it doesn't look great. So that's why he's saying we have to keep growing him. The kid's a good player. He's playing for us now, frankly, because he's doing the best job of anybody who's back there, which is why I think it can be improved. But it's not like the kid's not trying hard. I'm happy to hear that he knows it and he's willing to work on it and move forward, because it's like I said earlier in this video and in other videos, it is about working to get better. That is all you can do, that or quit. So you keep working to get better and good things will happen.
Yeah, the other night you mentioned there were some guys that were pretty vocal in the locker room at halftime. Just how much does a loss kind of further develop the leadership of a young team like this? And what do you anticipate seeing from those guys, the guys that are stepping up as leaders on the practice field this week?
Well, just be themselves. I don't see it any different than any week. I mean, our leaders lead, and our team follows the leadership of this team, and it's been great so far. I don't expect it to change any.
That's good. You have a loss. Everybody loves you when you win. Seems like nobody loves you when you lose. And you just got to show up and keep doing the things that you know are working and the players around you are responding to. You can't run and hide and go into a shell. You have to show up and do the work.
Kirby, I want to ask you about ZACHARIAH Branch. He had obviously a really big run from under your goalpost, got you 10 yards out of position, made a third down catch, and made your traffic. How much differently are teams playing him, and what is the, I think you said you drew a line between execution and play call. How do you draw a line between taking what the defense gives you and making sure that you keep getting Branch the ball even with extra attention?
It's important he touches the ball. I don't really know how to answer that question because I don't really fully understand the question. Our defense is changing how they play us. I think it's hard because he's all over the place. He's outside one time, he's inside one time, he's in motion one time, he gets handed the ball one time, he gets a screen one time. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to move him around, and I think our offensive staff has done a tremendous job of trying to find ways to get him touches. It's important to keep his durability up. He's a punt returner, he's a kickoff returner, and he's a touch guy. And so we got to be smart about how we get him the ball, when we get him the ball, and he's got to take advantage of those. There was probably some missed ops for him too in the game that he has that he's got to make. He's got to capitalize on every opportunity he gets because he is an explosive player.
Well, obviously the one that sticks out the most is the third down tunnel screen, that if he catches it from where I'm standing, he is making some yardage. The ball came in hot, bounced off his hands, lack of execution. Put it on whoever you want, gunner, the receiver, whoever. But it's one of those things that Kirby refers to him as a touch guy, and that's absolutely true. And all Georgia fans want him to touch the ball to give him an opportunity to see what he can do with it. I think the question that Georgia fans really want answered is, why are we not taking the lid off the defense with him? And frankly, I don't want to act like I can tell you why that is. I mean, you've seen different guys have opportunities. Talon Taylor's had opportunities on the post. You have slant and go with Colby, right? You've had London Humphreys with a ball over the top on a switch release fade. So there are things that are happening. Does Zach have an opportunity to line up in those spots to take those routes? I don't know. So if they're not, I think maybe that's something that Georgia fans would love to see, and maybe it just hasn't worked that way yet where the ball came his way. Or maybe he's simply not running those 9 routes. Maybe that's not how they want to use him. Honestly, I can't tell you, because I'm not a guy who's going to sit here and tell you I'm breaking down game film every day. I'm not. I can't. I don't have time. There are too many other things that I have to do. So I'll leave that to the people who proclaim to be people that know something about film. Some know more than others, and I'll leave that at that. But I'm not that guy. So I think that's what Georgia fans want. They want to see us do that, throw the ball over the top to him. I just don't know if that's something that it naturally occurs in the routes that he runs from the positions that he lines up in.
Haven't had the time to go back and watch the film. How did you evaluate what you saw from Bo, from Juan, from Dontrelle, just those young guys on Saturday?
Growing up, they all three have not played much. They're all three improving. They're very different. I mean, in terms of Juan and Bo, you couldn't get two more different guys. But there was a couple critical mistakes. Really, the 4th and 1 was a deal where they didn't line up right. They're completely bust. We're going to walk in the end zone with the play call we got, and we just have a guy not block a guy that he's supposed to block. But outside of some of that, they did a lot of good things, and that's why I'm pleased and promised by, like, okay, went into the game not knowing about the right tackle position, came out of the game going, both guys, I mean, they did some good things. So I'm pleased with where it's headed if they continue to get better.
I completely agree. Completely agree. I saw enough in the short amount of tape that I have been able to look at from the television view that GASTON and Dontrelle Glover grew up on Saturday. They were mashing folks in the run game. Georgia could do whatever they wanted, essentially, on the edges. That was because of the play of those tackles. So, and Dontrelle Glover. So the future is bright. Bo HUGHLEY, same thing. They were mashing folks at times. And kudos to Kirby. You can't run from it. Everybody could see it. They did not execute a simple block on that 4th and 1, and he's not lying to you. That was an absolute bust. I was standing right there. The play was coming right toward me. Cash walks into the end zone if they make one block. So you can say whatever you want about why was Cash in the game. You can say whatever you want about why did we hurry? Why did we, go for it on 4th down? Why did we not kick the field goal? Because I thought we kicked the field goal. That was my claim. That's what I would have done. But they had an opportunity to put it in the end zone, and critical mistake cost them. But the bottom line is those dudes are growing up, and you can see it on tape. GASTON mauling people at the tackle position. Dontrelle Glover, great feet, really, really getting the work done on those perimeter runs. They're coming along. They're coming along. They're getting better, which seems to be a theme of this video.
Coming off a tough loss against a team that is not of the same prestige of Alabama, do you worry either from an atmosphere standpoint or with your own team standpoint with a noon kickoff of it being maybe perhaps a sleepy start?
I worry about everything. If you know me, I worry about everything.
That's the truth. There's nobody who manages more parts of his program than Kirby Smart. I, for one, am concerned that at noon, the fans are going to be flat because they gave everything they had on Saturday. It's going to be an early kickoff. I am concerned that the first part of that game is not going to be pretty. We'll see. You know about a championship team is elite don't get bored. They show up and they do what they're supposed to do. This is a big test. If you want to know a little bit more about how this team is growing up and what they're becoming and what their mindset is, let's just watch the start of the game on Saturday. Let's see how they play through that first quarter, the first half. Let's see if they start slow, because everything is in the bucket for that to happen. Let's see if they can buck that trend and go out there and handle business the way we all hope that they will.
Kirby, Mark Stoops was already in the SEC coaching meetings when you got here at Georgia. He's in his 13th season. What do you make of that longevity?
Man, it's amazing. Mark's one of my close friends. We've grown because we've been in it the longest together, and he's been in it longer than me, and I text him all the time. It's just really amazing what he's done at Kentucky, and, it's one of those things that I hope they appreciate what he's done, because he's done some incredible things, broken some records up there, been extremely competitive in our league, and that's not necessarily by record. I mean, it is by record sometimes, but the games that he's been in and the way they've played is incredible. You can tell he inspires his team to play extremely hard, and they're always physical. So I just have so much respect for Mark because of I know his history. We kind of grew up the same way. Coach's son, defense coordinator, been some good places, got a head job, and he's worked his tail off.
This is, and I'm not trying to be dismissive, but this is where casual fans just look at it and go, it's just Kentucky. It's just Kentucky. It doesn't matter. And I refuse to look at the game that way. I refuse to look at the sport that way, because Kirby's exactly right. They are a well-coached team. Listen, do coaches, any coach, do they make the right decision all the time? No. Just look back to last year's matchup against Kentucky and Georgia. Stoops chose to punt the football at the end of the game when everybody in Kentucky Blue believes that you have to go for it there. And because they never got the ball back, Georgia escapes Lexington last year with a win. And escapes is the word I would use. Hard-fought battle right down to the very end. And Georgia just was lucky to get out of there without losing. So this week is going to be the same thing. They're going to come in ready to go. They got thumped at South Carolina. They're going to want to prove something. Georgia loses to Alabama. They have something to prove. I just talked about how it could be a slow start. And the fact that Stoops is consistent at Kentucky, I actually join Kirby in saying what he said. I hope Kentucky fans appreciate what he's done for them so far. And I understand they're all well paid. It's a job. It is what it is. But when you're invested in a program, the way I'm invested in the University of Georgia, the way Kentucky fans are invested in Kentucky, there's a different level you can choose to look at it. And that is, thanks for coming and bringing this baseline of what Kentucky football is to Kentucky. I know I feel that way about Georgia. Thanks to Kirby for bringing this level of play to the University of Georgia. Something I appreciate, something that I am proud to point to, and I think that's maybe what Kirby's talking about there. But make no mistake, Stoops knows football. He's a good football coach. Kentucky is, a hard place to be successful in the SEC, and he's done a good job over a long period of time up there.
You touched on this a little bit on Saturday, but last year you guys lose to Alabama, but are still able to win the SEC and get to the college football playoff. What lessons from that run you guys went on last year are applicable to this team, knowing it's a different set of guys?
Different year, different season. I mean, I think what's applicable is that college football teams are going to have parity. Teams are going to play. So what's going to separate teams is how they either fracture or don't fracture, or how their infrastructure is built to sustain losses. And we're built for this. Like we have infrastructure, we have plans, we know the pathway. So, I'm excited to see where this team goes.
He says infrastructure. I say superstructure. It's same thing. So that's cool. And he's absolutely right. You just have to put your head down, get to work, because not doing that isn't going to help you win the next time out.
Coach, obviously this week, I think the time of possession was about 10 minutes difference. And you guys have talked about starting fast, especially defensively, but going 3 and out on the first series of last game, how does that impact the entire game when you get the ball early and then don't get it back for 5-10 minutes sometimes with just with the way Alabama played, but then also the way Kentucky plays, just running football?
Yeah, how does it impact the game? Well, it impacts the first 5 minutes of it. The next 5 minutes are based on those 5 minutes, and then the next 5 minutes are based on those 5 minutes. Do you want to start fast? Absolutely. Do you want to start with a 3 and out on defense? Hell yeah. Do you want to start with a 3 and out on offense? Hell no. But it is what it is. How do you do it better? Maybe we change something up. Maybe we do something different. I mean, but at the end of the day, I'm very confident in who we are. The week before on offense, we drove down and scored. The 2 weeks prior on defense, it was bang, 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 out, out, out. We didn't even play 50 snaps. Our opponents weren't great, but we've done it both ways. So I don't get caught up in that. I get caught up in process over results.
Always, right? It's the journey, not the destination. It's about the process, not the results. Because the way the circumstance inside a game plays out is going to be different every time. And he's not trying to be condescending, but it is that way. You can't respond to something until something happens. So if Georgia goes out and goes 1, 2, 3 right down the field and scores, well, then that changes how the defense has to respond, right? If they go 1, 2, 3 and out, well, clearly that changes how the defense has to respond. So you can't do anything until something else happens. And that's just the reality of it.
You mentioned the physicality of this matchup and how both teams like to run the ball. From your observations, when did you notice Kentucky making that a core philosophy?
Since their head coach was Mark Stoops.
And again, that's not. I knew that was coming. You walked right into that one. That's one where, look, that's his philosophy. That's what they're going to do. They're going to get big linemen. They're going to move bodies. They're going to try to pound you with the run game. It is going to be what it's going to be. They got big defensive linemen that you got to move. This is a battle that's won in the boxes, individual boxes. Players have to move other players, and you have to execute. And it's about toughness. So just get ready, Georgia fans. That's what it's going to be on Saturday. Noon kick. The Kentucky Wildcats come between the hedges. It's going to be a physical fight. Let's hope that the boys show up, start with a lot of energy. It's not a sleepy Saturday afternoon. Fans, I hope you show up and do the same thing. I know it's going to be a little bit difficult, but you only get 12 opportunities a year to do this, and only 6 of those are at home. So take full advantage, get out there, and let's support the guys. Until next week, go Dogs!
So how about them fucking dogs? That's what I told them.